Hi guys, welcome back to Cheney's TCG store. I'm here today with the White Mexican where we have a shared market watch for you. Before we start the market watch though, I actually did want to go over the Facebook group that me and the White Mexican started. We just created it, so it's pretty new. We're gonna be posting our videos here that every time we come up with a new video, and we also kind of want it as like a sort of Discord for our communities to talk about market watch cards, talk about Yu-Gi-Oh, upcoming decks, or really anything Yu-Gi-Oh related. So feel free to come join. I will have the link in the description for you. And then did you want to talk about this as well? Anything else additionally to that?
Yes, of course. So this platform, this Facebook page is really just going to be kind of like an archive of our videos, and it's just going to be kind of a secondary platform for helping to build that community and kind of find like an alternative avenue to reach out to us. So I mean, not really a big deal, just something to kind of enhance what we have going on together.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first card I wanted to go over is the Ayatomius Ghost Rare. I'm not going to talk about this too long because we did cover this earlier, sort of. But I did want to note that it is down to $35. I think it might continue to go lower. I think you should keep your eye on this because if it does go to 25 to 30, it's just going to be a really cheap Ghost Rare that is like a kind of a collectible card. Like this was an expensive secret rare when it was first printed. But yeah, what do you think about this card?
So we have to keep in mind that this is only the second Ghost Rare Magic / spell card to be manufactured. So you have Haunted Minds, Ghost Gold hybrids, and MST was the solo Ghost print, and now this being the second, it's a very unique market, pocket of the market. And again, I'm not. This is a Dark Magician card, right? I'm not very familiar with this card. So I mean,
it's not Dark Magician. I guess it is kind of Dark Magician.
So yeah. I mean, maybe it's got like Yugi fanboy fodder, Dark Magician fan fodder. I don't really know much about the card, but it is really neat that it is a Ghost Rare and it is a Magic card. So I think it's got definitely, and like you said, it's one of the more affordable, especially for high rarity of Ghosts. So it's got that going for it.
Do you not remember this in the anime, like the whole Tamias lore?
Was that like Gen 1 anime? Because I never got past like Duel Monsters.
Yeah, it was Duel Monsters.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it was during the Soul of Or or the Seal of Orcas, I think that's called.
Time period. I mean, I never got past like Duelist Kingdom.
Oh, gotcha. It was one of the 3 original series, but
okay, yeah, I know it was like the same era, but like seasons later. So yeah, I didn't get that far in the anime.
Yeah. I could be wrong on that. I don't know if that's the exact time period, but I do remember this. I can't remember if this specific card was played, but definitely like the Eye of Tamias, I think. And some of those cards were definitely in the anime.
That reminds me of Luster Dragon, that super rare card from Legacy of Darkness.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think we just wanted to kind of quickly go over that. Next, I wanted to kind of point out the Winged Dragon of Ra Ghost Rare. So this card is down quite a bit in price. This was around 350 or 300 to 350 like under a year ago, and it's like down quite a bit. And like I said earlier on the video, we kind of are in a bear market for some collectible cards, or just the collectible cards, like industry as a whole, like Pokemon and this, and probably Magic as well. I don't know Magic, so I can't speak to that, but I don't know. I think it's a great time to pick up while it's relatively cheap. And then the other point that I had is we just got the Spear mode as a Ghost Rare as well. So I think collectors will kind of want to have both of these, like the Spear mode and this in Ghost Rare, just because they'll look really nice together in a binder, and just kind of completes it. But I'll hand it over to the White Mexican to give his thoughts on this. as well.
So one thing I will say, Konami manufactured this card very aesthetically pleasing. It looks very, very nice. I've personally seen some in person. They do look nice. I've never personally owned this card as a ghost, but I've seen them in person. They do look nice. I'm a big Merrick fan. Like I love Merrick. Just kind of interesting because I never actually really watched a lot of the anime with Merrick, but I just think he's a really badass looking anime character. I'm really into like Egyptian stuff. But my thing, at least from like my roots and like the collectability aspect of the game, I feel like they kind of isolated. I know that it's Merrick's set and that's like Ra is his god card, so I understand why they made this one the ghost, but it's like it's the god cards come in a set of 3. That's like the set is the collectability behind it. So I kind of feel like they shafted Slifer and Obelisk a little bit by not making ghost variants of them. But who knows? I mean, potentially they could come out later in other sets. I don't really know. But I did think that it was a nice play that Ghost of Past 2 Dawn Sphere mode, because it kind of helps like complete that offset of this random one singular god card going off and like ascending into ghost rarity by itself.
Yeah, I get that as well. I will say though, with like for Ghosts in the Past 1 and 2, we've been getting like Dark Magician Girl, Blue Eyes, like all of these extremely collectible, like really old cards and Ghost Rare. I would be if we have Ghosts from the Past 3, I would be highly surprised if they don't give us Obelisk and Slifer to complete the set, and I think that would really help sell that set. But yeah, I agree with you on those points. It does need the other Ghost Rares. So next, I wanted to highlight specifically Legendary Duelist Synchro Storm. Right now, these booster boxes are $38, which to me is really, really low for any Legendary Duelist box. If you look at the Rage of Ra, those are going for around $75 per box, and it doesn't have any more pull value than this. On the top end, we have Baronet of Floor, which probably won't get reprinted for a long time. These sets usually don't. It would have to be in Legendary Duelist Season 4, which is the reprint boxes, which we're getting Season 3 this summer. So it's going to be at least another year after that before we see Season 4, I would imagine. But yeah, this card is going to be expensive and it's going to continue to, maintain or go up. And it's sitting around 110 to 115. And it's a great card. I have it personally, and since synchros are kind of my favorite mechanic in the game, it's just a card that I really, really enjoy and will have for a long time. And if you need yours or want them, I would pick them up because I think it's just going to continue to kind of creep up, not at a fast pace or anything. But as long as Sword Soul and Based are in the game, like people are going to need these and they're going to go up. There's only 29 listings of these, by the way. So they're, pretty much bought up.
I think that card's way too good to be a lowly ultra rare. They should have made it as a secret rare.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, they should have made this the ultra and the ghost rare. If they would have made it a ghost rare, this set would have been a knockout of the park, really. That would have really just like sealed the value for this box in particular. But on the topic of ghost rares, there is the Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon, which to me is kind of really cool with the whole 5Ds lore. With you have the Crystal Wing and also the Clear Wing. This card is hard to make, but if you do make it, it's actually got a pretty insane effect. And I think it looks really, really cool. Now, the price point on these is starting out at $33.50 for a light play first ed, where the near mints are $35 to $40. And there is a stack available of these. I believe 6 of these available at $40. Was it 3 or 6? I can't remember.
I believe it was 2 play sets.
Okay, yeah, I think it was. So I honestly think that's not a bad pickup. You might be sitting on it for a while because, like I said, the collector's market's kind of down right now, but because it's down, that's the best time to buy. So I think sitting on this is going to be a pretty good decision. And then also, like, it's going to look amazing in your binder. So like, even if it takes a while to sell, Like, I don't know. I just feel like I would be more happy to have it for a longer period of time. What do you think about this card?
Synchro cards look great in Ghost Rare. I think some of my favorite Ghost Rares are Synchro cards. It's just the lighting. They're like this whitish gray silver effect. They look really nice. Pops really well in Ghost Rare. I can't read, and for the longest time, I thought this was literally just Clearwing Synchro Dragon from Cross Souls. I thought it was just an alternative artwork of it. So I had to get schooled today and learn that it's a completely different card, and I thought that was pretty funny.
I actually do want to look at a picture of this because I've never seen it in person. Like, it looks really good on the page. Oh, that looks really good, and it's got, actually, you can see the coloring in it as well. Yeah, what do you think about that?
I mean, looking at this up close and personal, it just makes me wonder what happened with Ghosts of the Past 2.
I know there's no coloring in those, like, at all, as far as I can, what I've seen, because I used to have the Dark Magician Ghost
Like
Rare.
Ghosts of the Past 2, it's like they literally just put like a moonlight black and white filter on the ghosts, and it's not very aesthetically pleasing to me personally.
I'll say the same thing about the raw Ghost Rare. If you look at it like at a certain angle, it is like kind of the clear color, but if you shift it, you can see the yellow in it pretty clearly, and then the darker yellows in it as well. It just looks really good. I like these Ghost Rares that have like that extra dimension of color when you shift them. I just think it adds a lot more depth, and is just a cooler card.
It's a really sharp looking card. The artwork is really cool. You can see a lot better detail up close. It looks very nice.
I don't know why it's not letting me go. Why is it doing this to me? There we go. Oh, it's because I did all the filters. That's why. Other than that, for this set, things to note: the Speedroid Cork Shooters is up a little bit in price, towards $5. Really good card for Speedroids. I don't know enough about that deck. I've tried to play it before, but I think it's one of those things you really need to get a tutorial on, because I wasn't quite sure how to combo with it. Cool card. I wouldn't invest in it personally, but it's great for the deck if you want to pick it up. It's something that you would need. It could, go up theoretically a little bit in price, but I don't think that we'll see much of an increase. Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon Ultra Rare. I would just get the Ghost Rare, honestly, because I just don't see the Ultra Rare having much value. I mean, that's my opinion, but what do you think?
100%. I mean, the Ghost Rare, again, like you said, the card is relatively difficult to get out. I mean, it's a blowout card for the most part, but the big hitters from this card is going to be from the collectability side of things, and obviously, if there's a Ghost Rare, the Ultra Rare is going to fall to the wayside.
Yeah, I will say, because I opened a few boxes, I did not get any of these. These were kind of short printed, honestly. But with that being said, like with the cap being so low, with this being $35, I mean, this just has really nowhere to go. So yeah, not this, sorry, this has nowhere to go. So I would just steer clear of it. If you want one to try to play with, I understand like it is cheap. So if you just want to mess around with it, that's perfectly fine, but I wouldn't invest into it personally. Lureless Bird Call. This card's insane for birds. Unfortunately, we have Recital Starling Limited, which pretty much all but kills this deck. But with that being said, I still think this is really good, because if you're playing Tri-Brigade and you're playing the Lureless stuff, you can still get by with one Recital Starling. But something to keep your eye on, because when this was released, this was $16 to $20. I think I have 4 copies of this total, and I definitely would not sell them for $3, especially since that would be for a loss for me. But besides that, I just think it's great to have for the future. And so pretty much like from what I've seen in the past, a lot of these ultra rares, especially any ones that are remotely playable, go up in price quite a bit, just because, ultra rare is the highest rarity in the set besides the ghost. Anything to add?
I personally don't know much about this about that archetype / deck.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's basically a Foolish Burial or a Rhoda, but you also get to special summon a bird from your hand at the same time. So it's like, in theory, just an insane card.
I don't know why every time I hear the deck name, all I can think about is like My Valentine, like Harpy's Feather Duster.
Yeah. Same story with Wagtail. Really good for the archetype. It can even search out your bird call when it's special summoned. Good card for $1. This deck is just so cheap that like I just don't. It just is so easy to pick up a deck core or two of these. I mean, I think a deck core of this would probably be like $15, maybe 20 at max, but it would be so cheap. But the best card I think from the Lyralist archetype is Ensemble Robin, because it's generic, so you can make it with any level 1s. You can put 2+ materials under it. And basically it is a compulsory evacuation device, but you can use it multiple times per turn. It's not once per turn. So it's just ridiculous. And something like this, I think, is a good tech card for Drytrons. And whenever I play Drytrons, I always play this card. It's just really good.
Yeah, the sheer fact that it's generic and that it's extremely affordable is definitely taking the cake for that part.
Yeah, and I think the artwork is incredible on it as well. Highly undervalued. If you can get these for 50 cents to 80 cents, I would pick up a stack, honestly. Like maybe 5 to 10 plus. It's such a low risk investment, because like, is it really going to go under 50 cents? Probably not. I mean, it's an ultra rare from Legendary Duelists. It really has nowhere else to go but up. Moving on, I also wanted to cover Instant Fusion. This is a card that had seen a lot of attention right around the time that Ready Fusion came out, because people in theory were like, well, I can play 3 Ready Fusion and 1 of these, which is pretty good too. I don't think it's the greatest, because you either need to play, like, you're just playing 4 copies of Ready Fusion, which can be really good depending on what you're playing. Or you need to play 2 targets, one being an effect monster and one being a non-effect monster, so that you can meet the conditions for both cards, which you probably would just play 1 non-effect monster. But with that being said, this is probably one of my top 5 favorite ultimate rares from the OTS tournament packs. The foiling looks incredible. I used to have one of these, and I got it back when these were really cheap, like $50 to $60. And I ended up offloading it when it got bought out, like when Ready Fusion was coming out, when it was like $220 or $250 or something like that. But they've crept back down to $125 for light play and around $130 to $140 for a near mint. And I think it's a great point to either keep your eye on this card and see where it goes, or just flat out pick it up, because I think it's undervalued at this price point. What do you think?
I think aesthetically pleasing, aesthetically speaking, it's a really great looking card. The foiling and the coloring really reminds me of Ultimate Rare Terraforming, which is another really great OTS alti. So, and again, I mean, as long as this card is in play, it's going to be used. I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon, as long as it doesn't get hit.
Yeah,
hit more than it already is, because it's at 1, right?
Yeah, I think it's potentially a card that can come back from the ban list. Since Norden's banned, that's the problem. So I think in my opinion, it would be fine to come back. But that aside, you like Shaddolls, right?
I love Shaddolls.
So there's this. It's not really Shaddolls, but it kind of is. So there's this really cheeky play that you can do with Orcas, Verte Anaconda, and Instant Fusion. So what you would do is go into Verte, send Instant Fusion. So you're automatically going to get into this card no matter what. And you special summon Winda at the end of your turn. And then if you have your Dingirsu on the field, whenever Instant Fusion activates to destroy Winda, you use Dingirsu's effect to protect it, so that that Winda is still going to be alive until the end of your opponent's turn.
It's pretty smooth. That's pretty smooth. I mean, it doesn't get better than that.
It's pretty crazy. And I can't take credit for that. I saw it on Crush Cards, but yeah, I think that's a pretty cool play. But besides that version, we also have the common DTs.
It's pretty cool. It's like fun fact of the day. Crush Card is actually from Rochester, New York, I believe, which is actually like really close because I'm here in Syracuse, New York. So I actually met them. Like I actually kind of like see them every so and so. They come, they drive down or drive up, whichever direction.
That's super cool.
Yeah,
I really like their deck profiles because they do like competitive decks, but it's not always like tier 1. They're just like cool like mashups of decks that you can kind of make competitive, which is what I'm all about. So yeah, cool channel. But back to Instant Fusion, the dual terminal commons market price of 12, but the white plays are going for 7 because I just checked earlier, and the near mints are towards the 10 to 12 range. Not a bad version of this card to get, but honestly, for that price point, I would skip it and actually get the Astral Pack super rares for $3. I think it's super clean and it's an Astral Pack super rare, so it's hard to come by. And if I was playing it, I would play this version or the ultimate rare. But there are also 2 ultra rares, and those are fine to get as well, especially since they're from Legendary Collection 2 and Raw Yellow Mega Pack. I do like the way those ultra rares look in those sets. But personally, I would still rather just play the super rare because I'm a fan of like OTS and Astral Pack super rares. I know you are too. You like the super rares from these packs as well.
Yeah, Astral Pack super rares look great. I mean, looking at the Astral Pack super rare variant, it almost reminds me of Gates of the Underworld, which is another super rare from one of those sets, which looks fantastic. It's got like that emerald blue shine to it. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's super clean. Other than that, that's like the only, I guess there is a Fusion Forcer super rare, and that's around $2 to $3. I actually have one of these, and I also have the dual terminal version. But honestly, I think I'm going to actually sell the dual terminal version, because it is near mint, so I can probably get 10 to 11 bucks for it and get a playset of the Astral Pack super rares. I think that's the move. I actually didn't know that this existed until today, so I'm pretty hype about it. Other than that, I think that's the only holo versions of this card. And if this card ever comes back from the ban list, the holo versions are going to be very valuable. So just something to keep your eye on. Moving on, I also wanted to quickly go over Fluentaries. So we just got the Ryza, the Mega Monarch reprint, and Ghost from the Past 2. I think this is possibly one of the cheapest tier 1 decks, like in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh, or at least as long as I've been around for the last few years. And it's actually a pretty fun deck to play and can be very powerful, and it's kind of hard to counter. It can even one of the better cards against this deck, which is Artifact Lancia. I mean, you can still play through Artifact Lancia. So it's just really hard to stop this deck. And it's really good at interacting with the opponent and stopping their decks as well. Something to note, you can get Ryza for around $1.50. So I think this deck in total for the archetype cards is well under $100. The only value cards being N-Pen, which you can get. This seller right here has 2 for $13.60, which is really, really good if you want to get those, because then it goes to 17. But then you also have the secret rare, which is around $9. And then besides that, there's no other like value cards except for Advent of Adventure, which is around 10 right now. I actually picked mine up for $14 a piece, so this is actually a pretty good deal. But along with that, Advent of Adventure will be the only card not reprinted this year in the Megatins, because this card was printed in 2022. So the other value cards are going to go down quite a bit in price when we get those reprints. So this, usually when we see an entire archetype reprinted and there's one card that misses the reprint, it usually goes up in price. But besides that, there's not really too much value attached to, N-Pen and some of these other cards. So doesn't, even if those go down quite a bit, I don't think it's gonna affect this too much in price, like maybe a few dollars. But the biggest thing is I think people will want to start picking these up, these deck cores up, because they are so cheap and so powerful. So I think that's probably the main reason this will go up in price, because this is going to be the hardest card to get. Do you know anything about this archetype?
I know it's very affordable. They don't use an extra deck, which it's been quite some time since we've seen a relatively competitive deck that doesn't run an extra deck. I think the last was Monarch, so that's definitely has a unique spin going for it.
So one of the coolest things about this deck is you don't special summon. It's all normal summons. Like every time you normal summon one of these smaller monsters, you get to immediately normal summon another monster from your hand, or another winged beast, I believe. So basically you can do your entire combo, get to your end pin and stuff, and not special summon the entire turn. So you can play cards like Summon Limit and stuff like that, because you get around special summoning. And stuff like the Scythe Lock, like the artifact Scythe Lock right now, does nothing to this deck, because this deck doesn't have an extra deck. So for those reasons alone, like it's just really hard to counter this deck.
So Winter Cherries will fizzle. No Winter Cherries against this deck.
No, but honestly, Winter Cherries would probably be a good side deck card for this deck, because you could play so many targets in your extra deck because it doesn't matter. So you could be playing the branded stuff. You could be playing like Phantom Knight stuff, like Cherubini. I mean, like so much stuff if you wanted to go that route. That would be pretty spicy. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of highlight that. Next is Royal Surrender from the Lost Millennium. I came across this card a few days ago, and I'm interested in picking some up. And the reason is it's a really old ultimate rare with very, very cool foiling and also artwork. And it does have a negate effect, which can be very good. Unfortunately, this negates a continuous trap card, which there's not too many applications, except for you could negate and destroy skill drain, which is pretty good. But this card's pretty situational. So it's really not going to come up, and I don't even think you would play this in your side deck, really, because really the only thing you would use it for now would be to counter skill drain. But there's just better cards to do, because you can just MST or Cosmic Cyclone skill drain, which is a lot better and a lot less situational. And if you're going second, this card does nothing to get over skill drain, because you need, it's a trap card. But with all that said, for just collectability purposes, it is very cheap in price for first edition. It's around $6.70, and there's actually a playset here for $6.70, which is really, really good. After that, though, the near mint first edition is $20. With that being said, I would just say, get this playset here, or get a few of these lightly played ones, because you're going to get 3 of these, a whole playset for the price of one. And I doubt that with this card being so old, there's a low chance that it will actually come in mint condition. So this probably will be better than, these light plays, but it probably still won't be the mint condition that you're looking for. So I think you're better off to just risk it for this. And if it comes mod play, just message the seller and, get a refund or send them back or whatever. But yeah, I'd say go for the light plays. What do you think about this card?
So it's a really cool set. It's really old. I believe DD Survivor Ultimates came out of this, if I'm not mistaken, which is a really cool old school card that I really like and collect myself personally for the first edition Ultimates. It is extremely very situational, but it is a counter trap, which is pretty cool. And it does have that negation factor. I think the best thing about this is that it's high rate of ultimate rare, and it is very old, being that's from Lost Millennium. Personally, if I'm having trouble with trap cards, I almost always exclusively side 3 Royal Decree. Royal Decree is like my 2 go-to for countering traps.
Really?
Ideally, personally myself, I would much rather run Royal Decree. But as far as like, this is obviously clearly not really for playability purposes, more for like a collector's investment, which is it's got all the stars. I mean, it's old, it's ultimate rare, it's affordable, and there's just not that many on the market. So from that aspect, I think it's pretty great.
Yeah,
and it's got cool artwork. It's got really cool artwork. It's like makeshift Royal Decree artwork, which is really cool. It's got like, all these like uprising peasants. So I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Personally, I main deck 3 Jinzo at all times to counter traps. No, but I play Cosmic Cyclone usually just because it's quick play and it banishes. So like if you're playing like Eldlik or something, it deals with the problem for good, so it doesn't go to their graveyard. Because I think even with, correct me if I'm wrong, but even with Royal Decree, if they try to activate their trap card, it's just going to send it to the grave, right? But it negates it.
Well, it depends on what it is. If it's a continuous trap card, it just sits on field and it's not active. It's just going to sit on board face up.
Yeah, well, I guess specifically like for the Eldlik archetype is what I'm kind of asking for. So like if you activated one of your trap cards, could you, I mean, it would still go to the
So they would activate it and then it would negate the effect on the field, but then it would go to the grave and they would still be able to remove it from play to do the secondary effect. Because that's at that point it's considered a graveyard effect. It's no longer on the field for the secondary effect.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. Even with Royal Decree, you're still going to have that problem. Now, unfortunately, the best cards they can usually add is going to be a trap also, but they can add Golden Land or something to get to their Eldlik. And then send, activate the Eldritch to get rid of Royal Decree. So that specifically that matchup, maybe not the best tech card, but I can see what you're saying where it could be pretty good. Depending, I haven't seen that card see play in a long time. It's an interesting tech choice. Do you side that card or you put it in your main?
I side a playset.
I think you said that. I just missed it. But yeah, I think this is a great card to pick up, especially if you're like starting a collection and you're kind of wondering, what's the best way about starting to pick up higher rarity old cards to invest in. I think this is a great option, being under $7 here. So just keep that in mind, and we'll move on to the next cards. Okay, so here, I pulled up all of the Orcas cards because I wanted to kind of talk about this archetype. It is one of my favorite archetypes of all time. It's just such a fun playable deck. Like if I'm not really feeling like playing, this is a deck that I can always pick up and still enjoy. But with that being said, a lot of these prices are down quite a bit from where they've been the last couple of years. Galatea is around 65 to 70. And I think I sold mine when they were 120 like a year ago. So these do have price history of going up whenever there's speculation. But just keep in mind, if Harpur ever comes back from the ban list, this is going to skyrocket, and so will all of these cards. But if you haven't seen this card before in person, it's like the foiling like in the background, and this is not common for OTS packs, but it's very textured, kind of like the old style of ultimate rare foiling, and the colors really pop. And really makes the Galatea, the actual Galatea in there stand out very well. It's just really, really cool. But yeah, this card's insane. Being able to cycle back your banished Orcas cards, and then being able to set like your Orcas Crescendo or set your Babylon. Just a big fan of this card. What do you think about this card?
She's a total babe with a death scythe. What more could you ask for?
Yeah.
And the coloring is, as you said, coloring is unparalleled. Definitely one of the better looking OTS alties.
Oh, for sure. And also, if you're just getting back into the game, or you're looking to diversify what decks you're playing, this is a cool deck that you can put together for relatively cheap if you get a lower rarity. You have to usually play it with another engine, but you can take this to locals anytime and have fun and do decently well. You'll win a couple of games. You're probably not going to get first place, maybe, it just depends, but on what what people are playing at locals. If they're playing Despia, like probably not going to have that good of a time. But this is just a really fun deck in my opinion. And besides that, the Dingirsus are under 50 or around 50 for the near mints, I believe, which is also pretty good. But I'm not going to focus too much time on that. I will say it's not my favorite looking ultimate rare, but it doesn't really matter when it comes to this card. It's if you're picking up this, you also need this. So they're kind of a package deal. For Gears to the Orcas Mech Knight Secret Rare, this was bought out a couple of days ago, around $30 to $35, after someone mentioned it on YouTube. And it's kind of calmed down a little bit, but there's still only 15 listings, and it's around $16 to $17 here. There's a couple copies here at 16. A great card to have for the long term. You might want to see if it calms down a little bit more from this price point. But it's honestly a really good looking secret rare. And if you remember when this set was announced on pre-sale, this card was pre-selling for $100, and it was super hard to pull. So
is Mech Knight and Orcas usually combined? Is that normally a thing, or is that just that one card?
So yeah, you can. They kind of work together a little bit. It's not, to my opinion, it's not the greatest way to play.
I'm just asking because the name. I just realized that Girsu, the Orcas Mech Knight, it's both of them together. I didn't.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a hybrid. So this is basically a Mech Knight. So whenever there's 2 or more cards in a column, you can in the same column, like a Mech Knight, you can special summon this to that column. So that's the Mech Knight part of it. But then it's also got the Orcas part of it, being able to get a token depending on the game state, and then also being able to Foolish, Burial, and Orcas card, which is really good. Really good starter for Orcas. It depends on what version you're playing though. Like for example, if you're playing Reptiles or Scraps, like you're not really going to play this card, but a more pure version, you definitely do. Trying to think what else. Dingirsus, they're around 5 to 7, or a little bit more actually. They're 6 to 7. This is a card I really wanted to highlight. So there's only 2 printing of this card. There's the original print rare from Soul Fusion, and then we have the OTS tournament pack super rare here. This is up a bit in price. I picked mine up for around $3 about a year ago or so, maybe. And they're up towards 5 for light play, and then we're seeing near mint at 550. With that being said, I think we're coming into banless season, so that's why we're seeing a little bit of a price increase. But as time goes on, with this being a fan favorite archetype and being the best deck for a long time, I think this is going to continue to go up along with that ban list speculation. And I think this card's safe to come back from the ban list because we don't have, what is that, Nightmare Mermaid? We don't have that card anymore. So I think that this could definitely come back, and they have been releasing a bunch of stuff in the ban list recently. I think that, this will probably be released soonish. I mean, you never know what they're going to do, or, because they're kind of motivated a little bit by money. Trying to sell new sets, so that they might not want to release this deck back to almost full power.
What do you think about Nightmare Mermaid? Do you think that's like gonna come back, or is that like way too new?
It can never come back unless we have 3 or 4 more years of power creep, and the game just becomes insane because that card is so ridiculous. Like, are you familiar with Nightmare Mermaid?
I know what it looks like. I forget what it does, but again, time will tell, but I'm a big fan of anything can come off the ban list. It's not really a matter of if it will come off, it's a matter of when. But again, you have to take into account Konami's decision to errata it before they take it off as well, which
we have
almost always ruin the card.
We have Zodiac hits now, so that was kind of the main engine. There's more engines you can play with it now, but the problem is I can't remember exactly. We'll look it up in a second, but I'm pretty sure it special summons an Orcas monster from your deck, which is really powerful because you're linking it off, getting 2 potentially Orcas cards or other cards that have graveyard effects and going into that. I think it's been a long time, so I could be wrong, but I think the normal summon would have been Wrap here, and then getting multiple monsters on the field, linking a Nightmare Unicorn, and then getting into your Orcas combo, and then also having your Trident on the field. So I mean, it just, that can be really toxic. But other than that, like Orchestrated Return, also really good at 350, being a secret rare. There is a reprint for around $1, but just get this version instead. But other than that, just I would pick up any of these like OTS tournament pack super rares, because this deck just looks so good with all the OTS super rares. It really does. And they're so cheap. Like these are $1.39 for a simple skeleton, around $2 for Orcus Nightmare. This was like towards $7 like a few months ago. So I would really recommend getting those. You agree too, I'm assuming.
So I mean, again, OTS super rares, like they're not like normal subset, like cheaply overproduced manufacturer super rares. I think they look better. And I mean, at the time when the OTS first drops, they're relatively easy to pull. But as we get further and further away, seeing that this is OTS 12 and we're on almost OTS 19, they're just going to continue to get older and harder to find. And they're the only hollow variants they have. And since this is a very beloved like meta core deck, people are going to want to deck it out with the highest rarities. So the prices should kick up.
Yeah, and then one of the penny stocks of the century is the super rare Galatea, because it is a solo print. They never reprinted it, so it only has the super rare and the ultimate rare. So if we ever get Harport back and this deck becomes very competitive again, people are going to have to say, oh, do I want that $180 ultimate rare, which it probably would be because you need 3 copies of it in this deck. They would either have to do that or they'd have to buy this super rare. Well, the super rare is under $1.
Literally under a bone. That's insane. Fat stack of 20, near mint first edition, under $1. It's insane. I didn't even know I didn't know that the original print was a super rare. I've always just known it as the ultimate rare. Obviously, that wasn't the first print, but that's pretty incredible. I thought the original was a secret, personally, myself.
Nope, it only has a super rare, which for the lower rarity, I don't know if this card would go crazy if we get Harport back. Like it would go crazy from where it's at now, of course, but I think $4 to $5 is very viable for
even though it's just, it's still very much a hollow foil, but even though it's like the lowly rarity of a super rare, like the lowest hollow foil, it's a really good looking card in like first editions. And like me personally, I have a special fascination with Soul Fusion because I'm really into Thunder Dragons.
Yeah.
But first edition copies, I still think, just with like the power of the card, the artwork, being that this is the original print, like the very first print. And again, Soul Fusion by all means isn't like a super old set, but it's a very infamous set, at least to me. And I mean, it's under $1. That's insane for bulk prices, near mint first edition. I think that is a very, very good pickup, personally, myself. If you guys don't buy them, I'm going to buy some because I think that's a steal deal.
Yeah, so I have 4 here, and then I also have 3 inside my deck. I need to pick up more, but it's something I forget to pick up, but it's something I want to continue to buy into. I just think long term, this is really, really good. I don't think we'll see reprints for a long time, but if you do see a reprint on the horizon, that's when you should be going into the ultimate rares and stuff, because if they're reprinting or printing support, they're bringing Harport back because it's for one thing, it's power crept quite a bit, but they then have a reason to release, or they have a monetary reason to release it from the ban list. So just keep your eye out for stuff like that. But yeah, that's all I really had to say on Orcas. But yeah, that's probably one of the best penny stocks I've come across in a while, just because this deck is so good. So Shared Ride, this is one of the cards that a viewer wanted to go over. They said you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you said you got a few of these for like $6 a piece, like or near mint first edition. These are going for 10 for near mint unlimited. Light play first is 10.50. And then near mint first is quite a bit more, I think. Let's see here. Near mint first, 16 to $17. Honestly, I would just get that light play if you're looking to invest. But if you really did get those for $6 a piece, you did really, really good, making $10 per copy. But honestly, I would continue to hold on to them. This card's really, really good. If we ever get max seed back, this card will be even better. So I would hold on to them. And besides that, like if you just look at the artwork, I mean, we have Graceful Charity, Sangan, and Delinquent Duo. Obviously getting a shared ride there. So I just think, with the artwork being a secret rare and, being an old secret rare from Legacy of the Valiant, and also being a very viable card for, competitive play, it just meets everything that I would be looking for an investment. I'm interested to hear what you have to say on this card.
So everything you said, and then one addition would be the versatility behind it being a quick play. You can set it and play it on your opponent's turn, or play it from your hand on your turn, which is a lot of diversity and a lot of utility that is backing this card. So beyond it being a really nice high rarity secret rare and a really sharp looking secret rare, like the secret hollow foils, if you look at this card in person, up and close, like this, are very embedded. They're very, very like good looking secret rare hollow foil coils. And of course, with all the characters on there, it's some blockbuster characters, very aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, totally agreed. Besides this, it does have one reprint secret rare going for around $7 to $8 in the 2014 Mega Tins. And then besides that, there's a gold rare that's just like a gold ultra rare. It looks terrible. Like I wouldn't worry about that version. It's $1 or under. There's really only two hollow versions besides that, which is these two secret rares. I think it's a great card to get long term. It does have a few commons if you want a cheap one for playing if you're a budget player. But even if you're a budget player, like you can pick up the commons. I think that's not a bad thing to have, especially for competitive play in the future. Moving on, that's it for the cards that I wanted to go over, or the cards that I picked. But besides that, I also wanted to highlight the best decks from Ycs Guadalajara, which was the YCS, I believe, this past weekend. They mention in here that Branded Despia dominated this YCS, which, is no surprise. I mean, it is bordering on tier 0 with seeing so much representation in Top Cut. But the main thing I wanted to highlight is this is the winning deck here, first place. And what caught me off guard was the market price at $682. Like you might say that sounds like a lot, but believe me, for Branded Despia, that's like half the cost of what other decks list I've seen running around. And to get first place for kind of this more budget version, not budget, don't laugh at me for that, but for a cheaper version of this deck, it's really cool. So I was interested to see like what they teched in or what they took out to get this cheaper price point. One thing that stood out is they're not playing Prosperity, which I am also not playing Prosperity for budget reasons. They might not be playing it for that same reason, but they made it work and still won, which is super impressive. But they played 2 Albion, the Shrouded Dragon, which is really cool. I'm playing one of them for that cycle ability, like to be able to, get your Outbast to graveyard, but then also being able to shuffle this back into the deck and then draw a card. So you're able to dig a little bit deeper into your deck to get what you need, and then also putting a material you need for, like say Branded and Red in the graveyard. I just think it's super good. So I think that's a really good replacement for playing Prosperity on, for budget wise. Besides that, they are like everything else seems pretty standard. They are playing 1 Ad Libitum, 1 Despian Comedy, and 3 Despian Tragedy. I guess because they cut some of those other expensive cards, they went with 3 Tragedy, which is interesting. I've seen most people playing 2 with a couple of Brave Souls just playing 1. You really do need 2, but I think 3 is definitely doable for sure. You're definitely giving yourself access to a lot of materials to get you through the game. They are playing 1 Dramaturge, 3 Edge Imp Chain. So they are going with the Edge Imp or, Fright for a package, which is pretty common. They are playing 1 Fairy Tale Snow, which is something that I am also going to be playing because you can send this to the graveyard when you activate Branded Fusion. You can send this in your Albaz.
So why do they use the Fright for engine? Is that because they want to use their fusions?
Yeah, so with what's crazy about that engine is, one of the big boss monster for this deck is your Guardian Chimera, right? So what you get to do is activate Fright for Patchwork, add Edge Imp Chain to hand, and Polymerization. You get to use your Polymerization using either you need at least 1 monster from the field, but let's say if you use 1 monster from the field and 2 cards from your hand, one of those could be the Edge Imp Chain. You get to draw 2 cards and then pop 1 card on your opponent's field. And then the other thing is when that Edge Imp Chain sent to graveyard, you get to add another copy from your deck to your hand. So you're kind of replacing cards in your hand and then also setting up for, using another Guardian Chimera potentially or another card, because it is Edge Imp Chain is dark, which a lot of the cards that you're fusioning summoning are dark. So it's really kind of a nuts engine, but it is a little bit more expensive now.
Does that make sense? I mean, it's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, it is. And honestly, this is not like playing the Despia version of this deck. It's not an easy deck to master. You do have to, think it through, and it's hard to figure out a deck list that works for you. But I think that it is once you learn it, it's a deck that you can play for a very long time and have lots of success, assuming that it's not torn apart on the ban list, which I just doubt it would be. Other interesting thing I noticed, they're playing 3 Fawn of Albaz, which is not typical. I guess that they don't want to risk running out of these, or they're using the super poly aspect of it. That could be as well, which could be really, really good in mirror matches. But they're also playing 1 Incredible Ecclesia, the Virtuous, which I have not seen a single deck list yet playing this card, and Despia. So that's super interesting to me, especially since it's not really a budget alternative to play in this deck because it's still over $50. But there is a cool thing, like, so if you don't need to use your normal summon, you can actually normal summon this on your turn, and then do your other combos, leave this on your field, and then on your opponent's turn, you can activate this quick effect during their main phase to send this to the grave, and then special summon your Albaz from your deck, and then you can super poly them. So like you can interrupt their combo doing that. Not sure if that's the main thing, but the other thing is too, you could probably send this off Branded Fusion when you're going to Albion or something else, or if you're, if it's in your hand as well. But whenever, I guess that effect is not relevant actually, because that's only for synchros. I don't know why I was thinking that would be relevant, because the other effect is if you're like synchro monsters into the graveyard, you can add this card from your graveyard to your hand at the end of every turn. So that effect is really relevant, but not for this deck.
Sounds like the Virtuous is due for a reprint. They only have the Starlight and the Standard Seeker. Those are pretty pricey.
Yeah, it should be reprinted in the Megatins this year, assuming they don't, try to skip the Megatins, but it was printed in Burst of Destiny last year. This is actually one of my favorite cards printed in the last couple of years as far as artwork. I think they did a really good job, and it just looks really good in Secret Rare. Do you have these?
I don't. I'm not very familiar. The last time I heard about when people were running this set with the Shaddolls and the
Oh, you're thinking of the other Ecclesia, the Dogmatica Ecclesia.
Oh, this one isn't a Dogmatica?
No, it's not actually. It's actually a Sword Soul and Albaz card at the same time. It's the same. I'm pretty sure it's the same girl, but
that's what I'm mixing up. Yeah, Dogmatica, and Shaddol was the last time but I guess it was different. So, but yeah, that's confusing. They kind of have like the same attributes, like the lighting and colors and stuff. So it looks like a Dogmatica card.
I'm pretty sure it's the same chick the other Ecclesia, but they just changed the artwork in the background, which is kind of interesting. like this is like Ecclesia in a different form, which is kind of cool. I'd be kind of interested to see the lore behind that, to be honest, because the whole lore behind Albaz and like Tri-Brigade and Dogmatica, it's so interesting. And I'm pretty sure they all kind of intertwine. It's very interesting because, oh yeah, that's right, because Tri-Brigade is like fighting this battle against the Dogmaticus. Very interesting. One Springen's kit, this is also something I'm taking in at 1, which is kind of cool because I made my deck before I ever saw this. So it's interesting they're also doing that. But interesting enough, they're playing a Mercurier, which is pretty good because you can add this off Iron Dash, I believe. Or no, Brigand, that's right. And then the spell is pretty standard: 3 branded fusion, 1 branded lost. I am not playing that. I actually need to read up on that card and see what it does, because apparently it's not too bad. 3 branded opening. I'm not playing this because I refuse to pay 60, I think it is $66 for a playset of these super rares, which is crazy. Did you see that?
It's very expensive. Is that a super rare?
Yeah, it's a $22 super rare.
That's wild.
From Dawn of Majesty, which was just last year. This card was under $1 when it came out. They're playing 3 branded red, which, I mean, it's mandatory at this point. You might think playing 2 is okay, but I really suggest that you play 3. It's never bad to draw this card. Of course, you can search it, but I don't know. It's best to play this at 3, and this card is absolutely insane. This is going to give you access to your Guardian Chimera, and if you don't know what this card does, you can actually, sorry, I lost it. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. So basically what you do is when you activate this card, you can target 1 Despia or Fallen of Albaz in your graveyard and add it to your hand. That's the mandatory effect when you activate this card. So you're getting a card back from your graveyard, which is good. And then the secondary effect, which is optional, by the way, you don't have to do this. You can fusion summon 1 level 8 or higher fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from your hand or field, but it cannot attack directly this turn. So it can attack directly, but not a big deal. You can still pop your opponent's cards once you get Guardian Chimera out. And the other important thing is this is a quick play spell, so you can activate this on your opponent's turn while they're going through their combo, and then get your Guardian Chimera and just, draw, a couple of cards, potentially hand traps or whatever, and also pop cards on their field. So it's just super powerful. 1 Call by the Grave, that's pretty standard as well. Theater the Branded, I'm not playing that, but that's mostly like what I've noticed. Oh, the other one was Gold Sarcophagus, which I have heard people saying this might be a good tech choice. So I'll have to look at it and kind of see what it can do, but that's interesting as well. And then everything else is pretty standard. Super Poly in the main is not very standard, but a very interesting choice. But like they said, this YCS was dominated by Despia, so it was pretty much going to be a lot of mirror matches. So I think he probably made the right decision here. Hi guys, thanks for watching this market watch. Sorry for the abruptly cutting it off, but this is going to be part 1 of this market watch collaboration with the White Mexican. Go ahead and head over to his channel to see part 2, where he's going to cover the cards that he picked for this market watch, and then we're also going to be discussing those cards. With that said, there is a giveaway for this market watch. You can pick between one of these packs. There's a first edition Duelist Alliance pack, 1 Unlimited Flames of Destruction, which is where the secret rare ghost spell is in, and then 1 Unlimited Generation Force. To win, all you need to do is like this video, subscribe to this channel, and then also comment down below. And then in addition, I'm adding a deal. So if you win and then you send me a screenshot of your subscription to this channel and the White Mexican, you can actually pick 2 packs instead of just 1. Up to you. But thanks for watching. I will see you guys next time. Bye.